Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Good Nightmare, hopefully your favourite podcast with your favourite host, me. So if you've been listening from the start, you probably already know that I'd like to look at fairy tale origins or the darker side of fairy tales, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. This particular fairy tale comes to mind a lot for me because of one of the songs that it's most known for, which I will point out as we get going. Before I get started, I just want to say stay tuned till the end of the episode to hear a promo from an awesome podcast that I myself quite enjoy. Now, I'm sure we're all familiar with the tale of Cinderella, the Disney version or its many other adaptations. It's a tale of rags to riches, loneliness to love, and dreams to reality. The first thing that comes to my mind when I think of Cinderella is the song "A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes." Given that I only experience nightmares and have done since I was a child, I really hope my wishes never come true. In the popularized Disney version of Cinderella, we first meet our princess in the dark basement of a mansion. Cinderella, having lost her father, is living with her stepmother and two stepsisters. I won't go too in-depth in this version, as I'm sure it's been beaten into all of us in our childhoods. Cinderella finds friendship and solace in the animals that share her home, and is guided by a fairy godmother, who can grant her every wish, with conditions, of course. It's with the help of these creatures and this fairy godmother that she's able to attend the royal ball to meet her Prince Charming. And like any other fairy tale, it isn't all smooth sailing. Cinderella must leave the ball by midnight and no later, lest her dress turn to rags and her coach turn back to a pumpkin. As she's rushing out of the door down those tricky steps, she loses a shoe, a glass slipper. I've personally lost my shoes at parties many a time, but I've never found my prince because of it. This is one lucky girl. The prince, not remembering Cinderella's face apparently, trawls the village to find the woman who the shoe fits. The stepsisters, of course, try it, but their feet are too large or the wrong shape. It's not until he slides the slipper onto Cinderella's foot that he knows that he's met his princess. And of course, in Disney fashion, they go on to live happily ever after. All in all, it's a story that wraps up quite nicely once you get through all the abuse and pain and all those nice things. All these bits and pieces of the popular Disney tale come from different sources. The earliest version of Cinderella is the ancient Greek story of Rhodopis, written around 7 BC. It tells of a Greek courtesan who was bathing when an eagle snatched a sandal from her maid and carried it to Memphis. While the king was administering justice in Memphis, the eagle dropped the sandal onto his lap. He was stirred by the beautiful shape of the sandal and went on a quest to find the woman who wore it. When she was found, she was brought to Memphis and became the king's wife. It was in the French retelling in Cérélion by Perrault in 1697 that the glass slipper, the pumpkin, and the fairy godmother were introduced. This story is most similar to that of the Disney version that we most often see. Of course, this wouldn't be a good nightmare story if the tale and its ending were all roses and no thorns. That's why this episode will look at the Brothers Grimm version of the much-loved fairy tale. The story begins in a town that's ravaged by plague. The moment we meet Cinderella, she is sitting by her mother's deathbed. Her mother tells Cinderella that if she is to remain good and kind, God will protect her, and she passes away. Cinderella visits her mother's grave every day until 1 year later, her father marries another woman. Cinderella's new stepmother brings with her 2 stepdaughters, both fair of face but dark of heart. They take away Cinderella's gowns and force her to wear a bedgown, and banish her to the kitchen where she's forced to work from dawn till dusk. They create messes for Cinderella in order to make her work more difficult. They mock and tease her through it all. Cinderella remains good and kind. She continues to visit her mother's grave every day and prays to God that one day she will see her life improve. One day, her father visits a fair. He's promised his daughters gifts. The two stepdaughters request luxurious items, but Cinderella only asks for the first branch to knock his hat off on the way. He brings back a twig of hazel for her as promised, which she plants at her mother's grave. She goes on to visit the grave and to pray there 3 times a day, and waters the hazel twig with her tears. It grows into a large, glowing hazel tree, where a white bird comes to visit her each day. Cinderella tells her wishes to the bird, and the bird throws down whatever she wishes for. The king, deciding it's time for his son the prince to choose a wife, holds a festival that will last 3 days. He invites all of the beautiful maidens in the town for the prince to meet, including the stepsisters. Cinderella begs to be allowed to attend the festival, but her stepmother denies her wish, saying she does not have beautiful shoes or a gown to wear. Despite this, Cinderella insists, and her stepmother relents, in a way. She throws a pot of lentils into the ashes and tells Cinderella she may attend the ball if she can clean this mess in 2 hours. Cinderella sings while she cleans, and a flock of doves are drawn to her to help her. She cleans the mess in less than the 2 hours given. Her stepmother only redoubles her efforts and throws a larger dish of lentils to the ground. Again, Cinderella manages to quickly clean the mess, but the stepmother whisks away her daughters and husband, regardless, and leaves Cinderella behind. Alone, Cinderella visits her mother's grave and asks the bird who grants her wishes to give her a beautiful gown and to clothe her in silver and gold. The bird drops down a silver dress and silk shoes. She heads to the festival and dances with the prince. When sunset comes, she leaves, and the prince escorts her home. She escapes him and hides in the pigeon coop. When the prince requests her father to chop it down so that they may find her, he sees that she has already escaped. The following day, she again visits the festival in grander clothing and dances with the prince. This time, when he takes her home, she climbs a pear tree to escape him. Her father is asked to chop down the tree to find her, but when the tree comes down, she's already gone. On the 3rd day, she appears at the festival in gold slippers. The prince is determined to keep her. He has the staircase smeared in pitch so that she cannot escape. Cinderella loses track of time and runs down the stairs and back home before her family. One of her shoes is stuck in the pitch, and this is where the prince picks it up and proclaims that he will marry the maiden whose foot fits the golden slipper. The prince visits Cinderella's house the next day and tries the slipper on the eldest stepsister. Her mother had advised her to cut off her toes to fit her foot in the slipper. While riding with her, shoe safely on her foot, 2 doves from heaven come down and tell the prince that the woman's foot is bleeding. He returns to the house and tries the shoe on the other sister. However, the shoe only fits because this sister has cut away a part of her heel. Again he is fooled, and again he is advised by the doves that she is bleeding. He returns to the house once more and asks if there are any other maidens residing there. Cinderella's father mentions a kitchen maid, not adding that this young lady is also his daughter. Cinderella cleans herself up and tries on the slipper, and it's then that the prince realizes that she is the woman that he'd fallen in love with. The two marry, as in most fairy tales, though when walking down the aisle with her stepsisters as her bridesmaids, the doves from heaven fly down and peck the left eye of one and the right eye of the other for trying to fool the prince. At the end of the wedding, Cinderella and the prince leave together, and the doves fly down again, striking the sisters' remaining eyes and blinding them as punishment. Not exactly the happy ending that you get in Disney films. While in many representations the father is not present at all or has often passed away, leaving Cinderella with her stepmother and stepsisters, the father in this story is present, and he is no less evil than the stepsisters and mother for allowing the abuse to go on. It's considered in some theories that he is dominated by his new wife and is too meek to stand up to her. In other theories and retellings, he is actively a part of the abuse. I would definitely recommend that you pick up a copy of the Grimm's version of Cinderella, and personally would like to recommend the film Ever After, starring Drew Barrymore. It's one of my favourite Cinderella representations or retellings. There's absolutely beautiful cinematography, costumes, and the story is just one that you can fall in love with and watch over and over again. I'm curious what your favourite Cinderella story is. Make sure to get in touch with me and let me know. You can contact me via email at goodnightmare_s@outlook.com, or you can contact me on Instagram or Twitter at goodnightmare_s. As you guys should know by now, I absolutely love hearing from you. If you want to help my podcast grow and also make my day, please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. Sweet dreams.
My name is Ariel, host of your new favorite Alaskan true crime podcast, Murder Under the Midnight Sun. This state is roughly 660,000 square miles, much of it wilderness. That is an awful lot of space to hide a body. If you want to hear about the dark side of the last frontier, check out my show, which is available on iTunes, Stitcher, and anywhere fine podcasts are sold.